What's up, Bayside Church? Brandon Short here, and this week I am joined by the incomparable, the amazing, the legendary Mackenzie Cook.
Such an introduction. What's up, Bayside? I am so excited to be with you guys this weekend.
Mackenzie, around Bayside, we know you as the Mother Teresa of Bayside. I mean, hundreds of people say that daily.
Yeah.
I mean,
often.
you're a legend. Our kids love you, the parents, our church, the community loves you. But for those who are watching and maybe have not met you to this point, I need you to answer a couple questions.
Okay.
One, how long have you been here at Bayside? Two, what do you do? And then a super deep, embedded, vulnerable question of what's your favorite type of candy?
Okay, 3 very important questions.
Incredibly important.
So I've been around Bayside for about 5 years now, and I'm actually one of the student pastors. I get to work at the Granite Bay campus, but I also get to interact with all the student pastors on all the campuses watching, which is so fun.
Total legend.
And, again, untrue, but appreciated. And as far as favorite candy goes, I am the most massive sweet tooth, in the world.
And a real one.
And a real one, without exaggeration. So I will eat anything with sugar at any time, including, the full ice cream thing, even when I'm not getting broken up with,
Come on.
in one night.
That's honest.
But I have to say, my favorite candy of all time is Milk Duds. It's just the caramel.
It's like they infuse nicotine into the Milk Duds.
It's incredible.
They're addictive.
So good.
There are things that you might say, hey, can I have 2 Milk Duds? But you can never eat 2 Milk Duds.
I would literally never ask for 2. I know myself too well.
Yeah,
Whole
great.
box.
Well, now that you guys know the inner workings of Mackenzie's soul, you may be still asking, where is the person that was there last week in the last 10 weeks? Well, selfishly, Lexi got married last week.
Incredibly rude of her.
Incredibly rude. Lexi, we're totally kidding. We're so happy for you. We've got a picture of her right here. Her and her wonderful husband, Brian. And then within 24 hours of getting married, Lexi up and moved to Los Angeles on us.
Amazing. Huge moves.
Huge moves. So Lexi, we're proud of you. We're excited for you in this new season of marriage. Everybody, if you're watching, go down in the comments and congratulate Lexi.
Yes.
We are going to miss you, but we are so happy for you guys. Now, Mackenzie, you just mentioned that you're one of the student pastors.
Yes.
And speaking of students, this has been an incredibly crazy year.
Yes.
Proms canceled, senior week and all the activities, graduation. There's just been a real sense of loss for our students as a whole, but specifically for our seniors. What has the student team, enlighten us, what has the student team been doing in this season in particular?
Yes, well, as we all know, this is unprecedented times for everyone. But when it comes to students, so we are working with our middle school and our high school students. We've actually been able to meet them right where they're at.
And we know where they're
at.
at.
That is on their phones.
We know where y'all are.
Yeah, it's been a really incredible past, 11, 12 weeks working with every single one of our Bayside campuses to come together to put on every Wednesday night. We have something called Midweek Live.
Which has been off the chain.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you said it because I also believe that. So every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., you're going to want to go to Bayside Students YouTube channel to check that out. In fact, this upcoming week, we're on part 2 of our mental health challenge as we're looking at what that looks like in the student world. So you're not going to want to miss that. And if you are at all interested, you're a student, you have a student, easiest way to get plugged in is to text student to 56316. And that's for prayer, that's to book a time with a student pastor, that's if you're new, but we would love to talk to you. But as Brandon mentioned, we have our seniors. We even have our graduating 8th graders that have had their graduation either taken away or put at a different time. And a lot of you might be out there wondering, is this a big deal? We're seeing all these posts about graduation and all these things. And let me just tell you, as a student pastor, this is a massive deal for our students. And the reason being is that these students spend so much time over these past 8 years or 12 years on their education, their hobbies, their sports. They work with their families. I mean, shout out to all you parents doing homeschool right now, you know. And so this is the one time where they get to celebrate what has happened. And so we as Bayside Church are putting together a celebration for all of our graduates on May 30th. So our 2020 graduate celebration is coming up on our Adventure campus. So if you're in 8th grade, you can book a time from 10 a.m. to 12. And if you're in 12th grade, you can book a time from 2 p.m. to 4. And it is a drive-through celebration. It is going to be so legit. Wear your cap and gown. Wear whatever you're going to wear. Yeah, decorate the car. It's going to be
have cans hanging out the bumper.
Yeah, jump out the window. Don't actually do that.
Anything that's borderline legal.
Yeah.
Do
or
it.
Full legal.
Or full legal, yeah.
Like an even better choice.
It's at your own risk.
Yes, it's going to be an absolutely incredible day. So book that time, show up in your car because we're going to do a drive-through. Your small group leaders are going to cheer for you, and you get a huge gift. So in order to pre-register your car, you're going to want to text 2020 grad to 56316.
Absolutely. Seniors, we know. Just a few things from us. One, we see you. We know that this season COVID-19 has blown up our plans, but we want to blow up this celebration. We don't want you just to move to the next thing without stopping and pausing and celebrating with those who you love and us for this monumental achievement that you are now finishing. I mean, it's been amazing. Like you said, a student that's their full-time thing. Like they're in that all the time. We want to celebrate what you have accomplished.
And one of those ways that we can celebrate with them and actually ask them those questions, because here's what we know.
Right.
Is that not all of you know an 8th grader or a 12th grader, right?
That's right.
So as one of the privileges of a student pastor is that I get to FaceTime students all day. The time. And so I actually got to check in earlier today with 2 of our incredible students, Jordan and Monte. So go ahead and take a look. All right, so I am here with 2 of our absolutely incredible seniors. So guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I go to the Granite Bay campus, and I went to Wood Creek High School, and my steps for the fall is I'm going to Point Loma.
And I'm Monte McDaniel, and I go to the Midtown campus, and I went to the Met Sacramento High School, and I will be going to Grandview University in the fall.
Love it. So amazing. These 2 represent just 2 of our incredible amount of seniors. So one of my first questions is, what has Bayside students or Bayside Church meant to you guys over these past couple of years? Jordan?
For me, Bayside students has just meant like a community to me. I've been able to meet so many new people and new friends through that. And it just feels like family. My small group feels like family. Just anyone I can come to when I'm having any problems, or just people I could count on through high school.
Okay, the next question is kind of what has quarantine meant because you're a senior? And then what does it look like? Are you excited about like the graduate drive-through celebration that we're doing in May? Jordan?
Of course, being a senior and going through quarantine is not very fun, and not being able to celebrate with all your friends and family. But luckily, like our community has come together to find new ways to celebrate the seniors through our school, holding like us being able to get our caps and gowns early and go through walk on the stage or yard signs. And even Bayside has been able to do the drive-through parade, which I'm so excited about. And it's going to be good to be able to see everybody and go through with friends and just celebrate.
So awesome. Monte, what about you?
Yeah, as a senior, I really don't get the opportunity to kind of walk across the stage. A lot of my quarantine has just been playing board games and puzzles. But I am so thrilled to have that excitement to do the drive-through, where I get to, see my name and kind of mimic the walking across the stage.
Love that. Well, we are beyond proud of you guys as your student pastors and can't wait to celebrate with you. Thanks for jumping on, guys, and we will talk to you soon. Well, we absolutely love all of our seniors and all of our graduating 8th graders. Thank you so much for jumping on the call with us, Monte and
Jordan. That was awesome.
Right? So incredible.
That's like wisdom beyond generations.
They're pretty amazing, and their next steps are incredible. But we just want to take a second and point out all the signs behind us.
Yes.
This just represents just like not even half of all
half
of our middle school and high schoolers.
Wood
Creek, we got Granite Bay.
We got Taylor Frost. That's not a school.
But from Folsom. Hello. We got schools from Sacramento. We got them everywhere. Santa Rosa, we see you.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. So we just want to say we see you, we celebrate you, and can't wait to see you on May 30th. Remember to pre-register for the 2020 graduate celebration. Text 2020 grad to 56316.
Absolutely. Now, if you've been around Bayside for longer than, I don't know, what would you say, 30 seconds?
Maybe 15.
15 seconds. You've heard of Thrive. That is our leadership network. It also houses 2 world-class conferences, different expressions. It's amazing. But maybe you're newer and wondering, well, what are we going to do this year in this current cultural situation and climate? Well, when this happened, we started dreaming and praying about what is the farthest reaching, what is the absolute most momentous thing that we can do moving forward. And we have people signed up for our Global Thrive Leadership Summit from almost
Almost
every continent on earth.
almost everyone?
It's almost every.
Which one are we missing?
Antarctica?
Oh, okay.
Nobody
Antarctica?
ever registers from Antarctica.
If you're out there, sign up now.
All 26 of you. You can sign up right now, and it's free, but not just for you. It's free for everybody.
For everybody. And we have some incredible, I mean, I shouldn't even say that. That's like the most generic way of saying this.
Yes.
There are an insane lineup
It's
of
a once-a-generation
yes,
lineup.
I mean, like, entertainment, guys, it's insane. And here's what normally happens in any conference setting, is that you pay, it doesn't matter if it's a Christian conference, another conference, these speakers and these entertainment people come out and you have to pay them. That's actually how they make their money.
Right.
However, this time, because of where we're at, every single one of these people has said yes to come and do this for free, which is absolutely incredible.
F-R-E-E.
F-R-E-E, $0 people. This is like
That's
insane.
crazy.
So we
That
have
is nuts.
speakers like Christine Kane, we have Simon Sinek, we have Rick Warren, we have, I mean, I think I just heard that we have Need to Breathe?
Yes.
Is that right? Need to Breathe is coming. We have
just
Lecrae.
signed on. That's
Yeah,
right.
Like, it's absolutely insane. So this lineup is going to be crazy. Of course, all of your beloved Bayside pastors are going to be there too, but we want to make sure that you get in on the ground floor of this.
Absolutely. And like she said, there are some of our Bayside guys in it. We've got Bob Ballion, we've got Ephraim Smith, Ray Johnston, of course, and it's going to be amazing. I think my favorite person I'm looking forward to, it's hard to say. The lineup's so good, it's hard to say what it is. We got John Mark Comer, we got Mark Say. I mean, we just got, it goes on forever. Mackenzie, tell them, how do they register for this?
It's super simple. So first, I want to tell you, if you're out there and thinking, wow, this is so cool for the people who are in ministry or for people who are Christians.
That's right.
Let me just tell you, this conference is literally for anybody who's watching this video right now. That is the whole purpose of this. It comes right to where you are in your living room. All you have to do is text Thrive Summit to 56316. I'm going to say that again because it's that important. You just have to text Thrive Summit to 56316 and you're going to get an email that has all the information and crazy updates because this lineup changes almost every week and just adds people. So make sure you do that text right now.
Absolutely. Some of you know that we had a family call a couple weeks back and we had thousands of people on this call. Maybe you missed it and you're like, well, what did you guys talk about? Well, we can't tell you. Sure we can. All you have to do is text update to 56316 and you'll get everything that we talked about. But one thing that Mackenzie and I want to highlight today is that we talked about an educational disparity in our community, in our world. And there's a myriad of reasons, and we could talk about the nuance all day about why that disparity exists. But for our kids down in Sacramento, some of them had to return their Chromebooks, either didn't have Wi-Fi or hotspots, and it was making education, even in this season that was already difficult enough as it is, in this season, then they had to turn their stuff in and were no longer able to engage in their education. Mackenzie, tell them what happened on the call.
Okay, so this is absolutely crazy. Again, if you've been around Bayside for any amount of time, you might have heard us say something along the lines of unleashing compassion. Unleashing compassion isn't just something that we say, it's who we are, it's what we do, it's what we think, it's what we believe that God has called our church towards. And let me tell you, you guys are the full embodiment on that. So on that call, within 10 minutes, partnered with Eric Armstead from the 49ers.
Within how many minutes?
Within 10 minutes.
Okay.
We raised $250,000.
In 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes, and that was from you guys. That was from our Bayside family raising that. Not only did we get Chromebooks, but we got internet for a year. We got everything for these students.
We
350 students have that coming their way because they can get the education they deserve.
That's right. And if you want to be involved in that, we always say you give through Bayside. You can just text GIVE to 56316. Mackenzie, word on the street is we're starting a new series, brand new, hot off the press today.
Drum roll, please. Just silence, or maybe in your homes with us. That'd be amazing.
Yep.
Yes, we are starting a brand new series in the book of James, which we are incredibly excited about, right?
Oh, I'm stoked about it. And mostly because James is actually the brother of Jesus. And I don't know about you, but for me, if you want the real on Brandon Short, you go to Riley and Logan. You go to my siblings if you want the real. And I can just say up front, my siblings, if they were writing a book about me,
yes,
wouldn't say what James says about Jesus.
I mean, I don't want to tell you that that's not true, but it's probably true.
That's right.
Probably true. Yeah, don't go to my siblings either. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
But here's what you got to know about this series. It's absolutely amazing because what we're actually going to do is go through all 5 chapters of James, verse by verse. Because another thing that we love and appreciate and go for around here at Bayside is teaching deep. Going deep in the Bible and understanding exactly what God is asking us to do. So we want to go through these chapters, and the book of James is probably one of the best books to read right now during this
That's
season.
right.
It talks about how to deal with hard times and walk that out with Jesus. So you're absolutely in for something incredible from a message from Pastor Ray today.
No doubt. We say a lot of times around here that James is the book of real faith for real life.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's going to give us new understandings. It's going to change our relationship with God, ourselves, and others. We would actually encourage you, as we're going through this series, to read ahead. So it's only a 5-chapter book. You can read it in a day. You can read it in one sitting. So we would encourage you week by week to stay caught up in your own reading, in your own quiet time with us as we go about this series. We'd invite you now to sink deep. As we're going to let the siblings talk, but I can tell you what to expect right now. We've got some thumping worship that is going to be amazing. We've got a message that we've already told you is going to be incredible. And then Mackenzie and I will be right back here after with some next steps so that you can engage your world. Friend, welcome to Bayside.
To your inspiration level when you realize the sun's not setting, the sun is rising, and we haven't even got started yet. Then you end up with inspiration for your home, for your kids, for your family, and for your future.
Jump into compassion, jump into truth, jump into love, jump into reconciliation, jump into justice, and let no wall keep you from being changed by God.
Bayside, welcome to church. Come on, get up out of your seat. We're gonna praise the Lord today. Let His love lift your spirits. Come on, here we go. When night has fallen, when fear is coming, still you're calling me. Faith is lost and my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up, 'cause you won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Holding on. in their face, but you created walkways out of the ways. They thought they were captive, so they began to praise. You opened the doors and broke every chain. Yeah, you opened the doors and broke every chain. And in a moment, everything can change. In a moment, miracles are made. There is power when we praise your name. In a holy moment, everything can change.
everyone, my name is Pastor Andrew, and it is so good to see you. I want to say hi to everyone that's watching us from across the world. Our minds are continually blown as we hear stories of people across numerous continents that are now part of our Bayside family. So wherever you are, whatever time of the day it is, whether the sun's coming up or the sun's going down, welcome to Bayside. Another special group of people to say hi to is our family in Folsom Prison. All you guys and girls, we love you, and I want you to know this as well. We are praying for you in this season. We know it is extra pressure, and I want you to know that you are on our hearts. And to our Granite Bay family, we love you guys. You're part of the original campus, and we cannot wait for you to be able to come back here physically. And would you continue to pray as we make plans from going online to on-site? But here's the good news. Whether you live down the road and you can come on-site, or you live across the world, we're going to stay online. We're going to be doing online and on-site. This is our new phrase. We're going to be doing bricks and clicks. Did you like that, everyone? That's quite clever. Bricks and clicks. We're going to be doing both. So wherever you are in the world today, local or global, you are so welcome. We're moving into a special moment right now, and it is a moment where we continue our worship, and it's worship through giving. Let me tell you a story. Last Sunday afternoon, Isabel and I, we walked out of the house, and a neighbor came up to us, and she was full of excitement. A great girl. She had just got out of work. She had been out of work for a long time, but she got back last weekend, and she was so excited. And this is what she said. Pastor Andrew, she said, it was hard for quite a few weeks, but I made a decision that I was still going to tithe. I didn't ask her to. There's no pressure in this. She just felt a moment of faith. She said, I'm going to continue to tithe. And she told me the story of how God had provided for her in that season. Let me encourage you with this. Our God is a faithful God. And even in moments like this, I want to encourage you, it's not about the amount, it's about the attitude of giving. So I want to say thank you to everyone for your generosity. You are incredible. And let me pray for this offering and also pray for your finances. Father, I want to thank you that you are a good God, that you reveal yourself as a shepherd, as a provider. And you tell us, Lord, as sheep, Lord, we will not want, because you are so good to us. And I pray for people, Lord, that are facing financial difficulties at this time. May they know, Lord, your provision from heaven itself. And wherever they need it right now, open up a window above them and provide for them, I pray, in the name of Jesus. To give, it is so simple. Just simply text the word give to 56316. We're going to be jumping back into worship, and after that, everybody, it's our very own Pastor Ray, the founding pastor here at Bayside, and you're going to love him as he starts a new series today in the book of James. Let's worship.
Thank you, Lord. You're always making a way out of no way, Lord. Even when we can't see it, Lord, you're still with us. Thank you, Lord. Making a way.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Come on, let's declare it. Hey, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Yeah, yeah. Oh, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working.
What's going on, Bayside family? It's Jason Kane here. And before Pastor Ray comes and shares a message with us today, I want to share something with you that I've been meditating on and thinking about for the last week or so. Man, all of us have things that we're anticipating doing and places we want to go as soon as all of this is lifted and we can go back into the world and be as free as we want to be. As a matter of fact, right now, with the people who you're gathered around listening to this message with, tell them what you're looking forward to doing. Some of you might be looking forward to going to Maui, or maybe going to the grocery store without having to worry about getting sick. Or maybe you're looking forward to going on vacation with your family. All of us have things that we're anticipating doing as soon as all of this is lifted. In the Bible, in Psalm 122, David said this in verse 1. He said, "I was glad when they said to me, 'Let us go to the house of the Lord.'" The place David was looking forward to going to was going into the house of the Lord where he could worship and praise God. And when he said this, the temple had not yet been built yet, so he was anticipating being able to go into the house of the Lord. Listen, folks, we are able to worship God in our homes and in a lot of different places, but there is something about that gathered community together that all of us enjoy. And like David, I will be glad when we're able to go into the house of the Lord, and I hope that is true for you as well. Eventually, all of this will be done. We'll be able to get back in God's house and sing songs together and praise God. But what we can do right now is continue to praise God even in this circumstance, because like David, we're anticipating what is to come. Our doors will eventually open back up. We'll be able to sing praises with one another. We'll be able to enjoy one another's company. But until then, why don't we praise God right now? Because we anticipate that he is going to give us a wonderful way to worship him in the future. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. And right now, we are about to enjoy part 1 of the book of James with Pastor Ray. Thanks so much for watching.
Hey, friends, welcome to church this morning. We are glad you're here. The doors of the church are closed, but the church is wide open, and we are glad you've joined us. I'm Ray Johnston, and I have the privilege of coming to all of our campuses this morning, global campus worldwide. Matter of fact, by the time we're all done with this, 200,000 of you will have joined us from 100 different countries and everywhere from Folsom Prison to Granite Bay to Santa Rosa to Midtown. All of our campuses everywhere, Newport Beach, the new one in Elk Grove, Blue Oaks, all of this kind of stuff. We are thrilled you are here. And I just want to warn you, okay? This is going to be raw. It's real. I'm in Southern California. I have got my notes. I have got my Bible, and I am ready to roll. If I make any mistakes, I'm leaving them all in, just like they did with the disciples in the New Testament. And so here's what I want to say is we are launching a brand new series on the book of James, and I'm kind of jumping out of my skin to get at this. And I want to start by telling you a story. I was a history major. I love historical kind of stuff. And the U.S. in 1812, our country was at war. Matter of fact, they actually called it the War of 1812. Very good, history majors. Our young nation was totally outmanned, outgunned. Basically, it was Britain, the most powerful nation in the world, pretty much going to war against a bunch of farmers with sticks. It was that outmatched. And to the shock of the entire world, the shock of all the farmers, and against all odds, the U.S. defeated the British. And it was stunned. And what happened in this country in 1812, at the end of that war, this wave of emotion swept into our country. And it was this wave of celebration and pride and unity. And it swept our country. And those emotions were so strong that the next 13 years, the period from 1812 to 1825, here's what historians have called it: the era of good feelings. The era of good feelings. When I read that recently, I thought to myself, what do you think historians will call the era we're in right now? What do you think they'll call the era we're in right now? Do you think they're going to go, oh yeah, the era we're in right now, oh, it was the era of good feelings. It was the era of kindness. It was the era of unity and understanding and prosperity. It was that kind of era. You know what? I don't think so, and neither do you. Okay? You know what some experts think our era might actually be known for? And here it is: the era of hopelessness. Right now, we are in the middle of a health crisis, a financial crisis that's impending, a mental health crisis, an unemployment crisis, and frankly, to be really honest with you, a political crisis, because we elect politicians to fix things, not fight. And it seems like by the fact, you're a politician watching this, on behalf of everybody in America and 200,000 people, we would beg you, stop fighting and start fixing the country. That's why we put you all in office. And I'm afraid what's going on is this. Like a friend of mine said this week, he said, every time I turn on the news, it's bad news. He said, I went to a Christian conference this week. It was just about everything being deconstructed. And he actually said this, he goes, I already know everything's all screwed up. What I want to know is, what do I do about it? And then we started brainstorming, what are the questions you're asking? Moms, dads, millennials, college students, high school students, kids watching this. Here's the questions everybody's dying for an answer to right now. In other words, people are saying, I know everything's all messed up. How do I lead through this? How do I lead my business? How do I lead my church? How do I lead my family? How do I lead my kids? How do I lift my kids during the season? How do I bounce back from discouragement and despair? How do I let go of worry and have a good night's sleep? How do I live with hope? How do I find joy when nothing's going right? How do I break bad habits? How do I resist temptation when it seems so alluring? How do I beat back despair? Okay? How do I bounce back from bad news that I just got this week about my health or my finances or my job or my kids? How do I repair broken relationships? Okay? In other words, how do I bounce back from this pit I feel in? Because, and a lot of you are sitting there going, if only there were a book in the Bible that were honest enough to talk about all this kind of stuff, I'd read it, I'd memorize it, and I would never let it go. People, there is a book in the Bible. It is the book of James. It is a 5-chapter stick of dynamite in the New Testament. If you got a Bible anywhere near you, turn to the book of James, and what you'll discover is this. And the book of James was written by a guy named James. Very good. If you knew that, you're already a Bible scholar, okay? And it was written, he was the half-brother of Jesus, knew Jesus very well. He was actually a reluctant believer and was one of the great leaders of the early church. But here's the deal. When James wrote the book of James, at that point, there was nothing else. In other words, if early church, if you said, you turn in your New Testament, if James hadn't written that, you'd say, get up, turn in your, well, nothing's been written yet, come back next week. James is working on it, okay? Matter of fact, if this were 2,000 years ago and we got up and said, turn in your Bible, okay, the only book you could turn to was the book of James, because at one point in Christian history, it was the only thing written. And I think what happened is this. James, when he was writing the book of James, James had no idea anybody would write anything else. So James sits down and decides to write a 5-chapter, 108-verse book. And he decides to put every single thing you would ever need to know about how to walk effectively with God, how to rebuild relationships. He decided to put every single thing you needed to know to have a thriving life in whatever circumstances in there. And if you don't think I love this book, check this out. I'm going to come over here and show this. My book of James is so read, reread, marked up. Here's what it looks like, okay? My entire book of James looks like that. Now, if you think every book in my Bible looks like that, no, go to Hebrews 13. Kind of a blank. I got to work on that. Now, James is this amazing book. And we are going to do a deep dive in our weekends on James. And the series is titled this, James, How to Come Back from Anything, because you'll discover he is writing to people who are dispersed just like we've all been dispersed back to our homes. Now, when you think about teaching James, we decided starting Tuesday night to up the amount of encouragement and inspiration and spiritual content you're going to get. So what's going to happen is this. All of your pastors are going to be teaching you the book of James on weekends. And then every single Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, I'm going to do a 30-minute in-depth, verse-by-verse study on the book of James so you can get a grip on it starting this Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Now, we're also going to bracket that. Kurt Harlow is going to be on at 6:30 with Flipside, and then Ephraim Smith is going to wrap that up. So we're going to put an hour and a half of content right in front of you. You can access it then any other time you want. And if you're going, why are we doing this? Because I can't think of anything in the Bible that is more important than building an authentic walk with God and overcoming anything. And every single thing you need to know about is in this amazing book of James. Now, if you're going, what's the theme of the book of James? Glad you asked. Here it is. It is verse 4. James writes and says, that you may be mature, not lacking anything. 5 times in 5 chapters, James uses the word mature. And here's the problem is, the minute I say the word mature, half of you in living rooms where you're going, boring. The other half of you are going, old. The other half of you are going, I'm too much fun to be mature, okay? And there's a lot of misconceptions about what maturity is. So I'm going to give you first of all, I'm going to give you what it is in a minute. I'm going to start by saying, what isn't it? And this is going to be fun. Number 1 is maturity is not age. It's the 4 A's. It is not age. It has nothing to do with how old you are. You can be a Christian for 50 years and still not be mature. We have teenagers at Bayside that are more spiritually mature than some of the adults. Matter of fact, for those of you that are sort of scattered and never been part of this thing, we do a massive teenage mission trip every year during Easter. And last year, 1,200 teenagers and adults went to Mexicali, Mexico, lived in tents, served people down there, and built homes for poor people, stuff like that. And we've been doing that for years, ever since we started this church. For years, we never had to send a teenager home. You know, the first 2 people that we sent home weren't teenagers. They weren't teenagers. They were adults. Maturity evidently has nothing to do with age. Second is, maturity has nothing to do with appearance. Some people just look more material. They got beards, or they got bifocals, or they're balding if they're really good looking. Okay, and some people, somehow, you see some people and you're going, whoa, that guy just doesn't look spiritually mature. His hair's wild or whatever. A friend of mine was speaking in a college dorm chapel, and this women's dorm on a secular university campus invited this guy in, and they asked him to speak on sex and abstaining from sex before marriage on a college campus. He walks in, and he's nervous anyway, and the whole dorm thing is packed, and it's about a 35-minute message, and this guy gets in there, and I mean, there are people, and he said, I was worried about getting beat up or killed afterwards because right in the back were 4 of the scariest looking guys I've ever seen in my life. He said they were all tatted up. They were wild looking, he said, and they were big. They had muscles on their muscles, and he could tell. He said, I just knew what was going on. I am telling all of their girlfriends not to have sex with them because the Bible says not to, and I know they are not going to be thrilled about this, and the minute I'm done, they are going to come up, take me out in the back alley and beat the living daylights out of me so I never come back. And he said he finished this, and the entire time he's worried about what they're thinking. He's glancing over there occasionally to see if anybody's walking his direction. And sure enough, the minute he's done, these 4 guys walk up to him. And they said, hey, got a minute? And he said, yeah. And they looked, all 4 of these guys looked right at him and said, hey, we just want to thank you for coming, man. We just been praying for you that you would have an impact on the students and the people in this dorm on our campus. We love you, man. Thanks for speaking with such courage. And he said, I was shocked because they didn't look spiritual. Okay? We are not supposed to judge how people look. God looks at the heart. It has maturity, nothing to do with age, nothing to do with parents. Third is this, it has nothing to do with accomplishment. It has nothing to do with accomplishment, okay? There are people that are eminently successful in business and a total wipeout with God. There are pastors that are famous that are distant and disconnected from God and not living with integrity. It has nothing to do with accomplishment. And the fourth one is this, it's not age, it's not appearance, it's not accomplishment, and it's not academics. It is not academics. I was a professor. Okay? I've been a professor at 2 universities and 2 graduate schools. And I have to say, some of the least mature people that I've ever met were professors. I was in my office one day, and about 15 professors having a meeting right across the hall, and they are screaming at each other so loudly and screaming at the president of the university so loudly and swearing and yelling. It was crazy. I finally went out because there are students in the hall, college students, 19-year-old kids in the hall. I finally closed all their doors and told them, could you just keep this thing down? Okay? Maturity evidently has nothing to do with the degrees or education level that you have. You could have so many degrees piled up, they nickname you Dr. Fahrenheit and still not be mature. Now, so if it's not age, and it's not appearance, and it's not accomplishments, and it's not academics, what in the world is it? In the eyes of God, what does it mean when somebody has maturity? You know what it means? Here it is. It's all about character. It is all about character. In other words, James is going to say for 5 chapters, if we live with integrity, nothing else matters. And if we don't live with integrity, nothing else is going to matter. So what does character look like? We have put together a chart. Okay, we put together a chart. This is pretty cool. Okay, now, some of you may want to grab out your phone and take a picture of this. Okay. Or, yeah, by the way, I got millennials who are filming this. They actually said screenshot, okay? What y'all need to know is this. I'm still trying to set the clock on my VCR, so if you guys could help me with this. Now, there are 2 types of people, and the left-hand column is going to have a very difficult time walking consistently with God and building a life of character and integrity. And there are desire-driven people and character-driven people. And here's the differences. Desire-driven people are convenience-driven. Whatever's easiest, I do that. Character people are commitment-driven. Much better bet to marry. These folks, they make popular-based decisions. These folks make principle-based decisions, okay? Too many leaders these days are going, where's the crowd going? And I'm going to scramble to the front and look like the leader instead of having strong, principled convictions. Another one is this. Desire-driven people absorb their attitude. Character people choose their attitude. Desire-driven people feel good and then do right. In other words, they're going, if it feels good, do it. Character-driven people are going, I don't care how I feel. I am going to do the right thing. Desire-driven people watch things happen and are victims. Character-driven people make things happen and are victorious. These folks, desire-driven people, are asking, what are my rights? And I'm going to insist on my rights. These folks are going, no, I'm here to make a difference. What are my responsibilities? And here's the big one, okay? When James chapter 1, we'll be here in a second. When problems arise, these people fold up and quit. And character-driven people, when problems arise, they continue. And I want to tell you a story because evidently some things in life matter more than other things. Okay, we have a really cool staff meeting during this season. We are all on Zoom, and our Zoom calls we have about 350 people on our staff. You can see everybody in there. It looks like Hollywood squares for 15 or 18 sheets behind. And it's really fun to go back and see everybody in their homes, their living situations, and stuff like that. And I lead the staff meeting. It's an hour long. It's Wednesdays. And about 2 weeks ago, I went into our staff meeting, and our senior staff gathers early, about 15 minutes early, and we get everything all organized, and then everybody comes flooding in. So I can't get into the pre-meeting, which is not good because I'm leading the pre-meeting. So I text some of our staff, and I call John Valinsky on our staff, and I said, hey, I can't get in. And John lies to me in Jesus' name and says, hey, something's wrong with Zoom and we can't get a pre-meeting, so just come on at 10 o'clock with everybody else. Okay, so we're all going to start it together. And so I'm sitting, and my wife and I go to this together. So she's sitting next to me. We're at our kitchen countertop. And finally, we go in at 10 o'clock, and that's when I discovered they hadn't told me the truth. They'd kept me out of it on purpose. And we come on, and I see all of our kids, all of our staff, and then I see friends of mine from around the world. Jack Hamilton's on there, Rick Warren's on there, Craig Rochelle is on there, all these folks that I know. And I'm going, what are these people doing in our staff meeting? And they started off by saying, hey, Ray, I started to lead the meeting, and they said, whoa, hold on, just be quiet. We got this. And they took over the staff meeting, and they said, 2 weeks ago, Bayside had its 25th anniversary. And they pretty much said, you thanked everybody else, but nobody did that for you and Carol. So we have decided to put together a staff meeting, and we just wanted to spend some time and say thank you. And Carol and I sat there, and I hope this happens to you all sometime. I have never been in any setting like this. We sat there, I get choked up even talking about it right now. We sat there for 2 hours as person after person after person said really great stuff about Carol and occasionally me. And they went on and on and on. All 4 of our kids shared. And you guys, I was a wreck. I mean, I'm crying through about half of this thing. Same thing with Carol. People on our staff are crying. Rick Warren was absolutely amazing. Rick came on and sang happy birthday to you. We should play that. Rick came on and said sang happy birthday or happy anniversary, like Marilyn Monroe sang happy birthday to the president. I mean, Rick is awesome and has a great sense of humor. Nobody knows that about that. He's an amazing guy. And and at the end of this thing, I mean, I'm a wreck, and we just were flooded by the fact that our staff is so gracious. And I will never forget that I'll never forget that as long as I live. And then after it was over, Carol and I got to talk about that for a long time, because when our kids shared, we've been praying our entire life. We've been praying for our kids. God, help them. Help our kids to love you, God. Help our kids to walk with you. And then help our kids to love the church. And then help our kids to like us. Okay, that's been our lifelong prayer. That came through on this call. It was really cool. But it was interesting. Afterwards, we started asking, what did they say that they appreciated? And this was shocking. You know what was interesting is? Not one person mentioned the word sermon, which might say something about my teaching. Nobody said anything about a sermon. Nobody said anything about church growth. Nobody said anything about building a building. Nobody used the word podcast. Nobody used the word conference speaker. As a matter of fact, author never came up. Nobody said a word about any of that stuff, which is what we all give our lives to trying to make happen. It was all God and relationship and our family and how we treat each other. It was all that stuff. And I walked out of there, and folks, if you can learn this early, I'm an old guy. Everybody looking at you, you're younger than me, okay? If you can learn this early, okay? If I can pastor you for a second, some things are more important than other things. Some things matter more than other things. And if you want to get down the road of life and look back with joy instead of regret, you'll let James help you and I figure out what matters most. And then when we give ourselves to those things, there are churches in America, there are people in America that were incredibly successful, but they didn't get the heart stuff that matters most right, and they're just a shell of a person at the end of that kind of stuff, or they're living in disgrace. And what I'm going to do for the rest of this message, and then we're going to have a ball. We're going to have weeks to unpack these things to you. James says, if you want to walk with God, if you want to walk with God effectively, there are 5 things that matter more than any other things. Make sure you get these down. Grab your phone. Nope. Take a screenshot of all these. Here we go. Number 1 is this. Number 1, James chapter 1. And by the way, each chapter has a theme, and each chapter's theme is major if you want to walk with God in an authentic way. Number 1 is this. Authentic Christians, here it is. They stay faithful when they're tested. Authentic Christians stay faithful when they're tested. One of the things I love about James goes, I'm writing the only book people will ever have on how to walk with God. How does he start? He goes, all right, we're going to start with tough times are coming. Don't you love how honest James is? And here's the outline to James chapter 1. Y'all still with me? Okay, here we go. James says this. The first 12 verses are trials from the outside. James says, count it all joy when you face trials. In other words, how do you respond? The question is really asking this. How can I stay positive when I'm pressured? That is a mark of maturity and a really important thing. Tuesday night, I'm going to answer that question, and we're tackling that next week as well. Now, now that's the first 12 verses. Then he flips and says, when tested. Then he flips at verse 13 and goes, now, when tempted. The first half is, you're going to be tested by tough times. And then he says, you're going to be tempted, trials from the outside. And the whole thing is temptation from the inside. It says, when tempted. And that's this question, how can I stay faithful when I'm tempted? The 2 biggest issues of life, the 2 destroyers of marriages, the 2 destroyers of emotional health, the 2 destroyers of relationships, the 2 things that will wreck your family and burn the house down are these things. Discouragement because of trials, or disobedience because of temptation. And James chapter 1 says, you want to walk effectively with God, stay faithful. In other words, when pressure hits, stay positive. And when temptation hits, stay faithful, and you will have a life that matters. Now, that's just James 1. Check this out. James 2, here it is. Authentic Christians are compassionate to people. Do you know any Christians that, they read the Bible and they use it to beat people up every day? Do you know any Christians that they're Christians, but they're racist? James hits this head on in chapter 2. And in verse 8, by the way, is the theme of the chapter. He says this, if you really keep the royal law found in Scripture, and what is the royal law? He says, love your neighbor as yourself. You are doing right. And then he goes on and he actually cranks it up beginning of verse 1. And he says this, my brothers and sisters, as believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ, don't show what? Favoritism. And then he gives an example. Suppose a man comes into your meeting and he is wearing a gold ring and fine clothes. And there's a guy walks in, he's just coming out of Nordstrom's and he's got GQ tucked under his arm. And he says, and then at the same time, right after that guy is a poor man comes in and he's in shabby clothes and he's obviously poor. In other words, he's coming out of Target and he's got Field and Stream under his arm. And they both walk in and he says, and you say to the rich man, here, we have a good seat for you. But you say to the poor man, hey, dude, you got to sit in the back, man. And he says, and here's the word right in the Bible, right in the book of James. 2,000 years, Christians have had access to this word. He says, have you not what? Discriminated He says, have you not discriminated among yourselves? And then we'll be back to this chapter because it could not be more appropriate for America these days. I mean, check it out. James chapter 1 of the Bible, all people are created in the image of God. Chapter 2 of James, here's what chapter 2 of James says. Discrimination, first 4 verses, is unhealthy. Discrimination is flat out illogical because all people are created in the image of God. Number 3, discrimination is unloving, and we are called to love people. And discrimination is actually unchristian. And James is going to say, I cannot call myself a Christian and discriminate without canceling out my faith. Maybe the best way to say this is this. It's interesting to me. When James picks up a pen and paints a portrait of what an authentic Christian looks like, he paints a portrait of a person that treats everybody equally and lifts everybody equally. This is going to be kind of cool thing. Our staff meeting, we actually taped the staff meeting, and this week during the staff meeting, Bob Ballion shared what had happened in Midtown. And it's a great example of you all of you at Bayside being generous and giving, and what's happened with that money, and is a perfect illustration of James chapter 2. Listen to what Bob had to say.
Let me tell you how you know you're doing a good job serving the homeless. It's when the agencies that are supposed to be serving the homeless want to give you money. So 2 things. Number 1 is the Office of Emergency Services is in the process of buying Bayside another shower trailer because they love what we're doing. So we're going to have a second 3-stall shower trailer. That's number 1. The second thing is I brought the state treasurer over to see what we were doing at St. John's. Her name is Fiona Ma. Fiona told the gang there to make an ask for things you need. So we just made a $250,000 ask. I'm not saying that's going to go through, but I do know they love what we're doing. So great job to everyone. Thank you for all the campuses pitching in.
What I want you to know is this. Here's the shower truck that is there now. And if you're going, how much has that been used? So far, 10,000 people had warm showers, which helps wash away germs and keep them safe. Not only that, on the same grounds, over 20,000 people have been fed meals. And this is not easy to pull off because here's an example of the kind of things that the workers have to do to protect themselves during this thing. And I just wanted to say thank you, Bob. Your compassion to people is authentic Christianity, and James would be proud. Now, there's a 3rd chapter in the book of James. If this gets too convicting, tune out. But James chapter 3, here's the maturity mark. Mature people, this is painful. Mature people master their mouth. The first thing that happens when you go to a doctor, what does the doctor say? Stick out your tongue. Okay? And the doctor uses your tongue to check your health. God does that spiritually too. Check this out. James 1, verse 20. James, verse 20. If anyone considers himself religious and does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself. And look at this. His religion is worthless. And then we'll be back to this chapter in a couple weeks. But he gives 6 examples that demonstrate the incredible power of what we say. I want to give you just one of them. Check this out, okay? A small spark can destroy a great forest. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. What James is going to say is this. A careless camper can destroy an entire forest. That happened in 1983 in Australia. One fire destroyed 600 square miles of land, literally wiping out villages, killing people, killing livestock. One lady put it this way, all hell has broken loose, and the whole thing was started by a single match. There are way too many Christians who are verbal arsonists. And James would say, if your words are tearing people down instead of building people up, your religion is actually worthless. Now, so that means, what does it mean to have a faith that is actually worth something? I'm going to take you into our staff meeting again. This is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have you all be part of our staff meeting. This also happened this week in our staff meeting. We start our staff meeting every week where you're going, hey, anybody got any God stories? What are we celebrating? What is God doing? Okay, and the reason for that, we're going to say it over and over and over again. The doors are closed, but the church is open, and God is still working, in some ways even better than he was before. And we have our staff. Our staff has made somewhere around 40,000 phone calls and written over 40,000 letters to people. And during the sharing, okay, Craig Olson from our Folsom campus and Lisa Thompson from the Granite Bay campus shared something, and it was so good. I wanted to bring you into our staff meeting again and listen to what they say. And one of them is Mexico versus Coachella. Check it out.
The celebration coming up in a couple of weeks, and we were collecting signs from different seniors, and one of our seniors is actually the student body president at Vista del Lago. She's newer to faith, and she came because some of her friends are a part of our ministry. So she's been around for a couple of months. So I picked up her sign, took it to Granite Bay. We did some shoots with it yesterday, and I took it back to her house, and her mom is sitting out on her front porch with a friend of hers, social distancing, and they're hanging out. And I introduced myself, and she goes, "Hey, I have a question for you. Were you the person that basically convinced my daughter that it would be better for her to go to Mexico to build houses for people in Mexico and not go to Coachella because I bought her tickets to Coachella for her graduation? Are you the person to blame for that?" And I said, well, maybe her friends, but yeah, I talked to her a little bit about that. And she looked at me and she said, if that is the kind of place that can convince young people to go to Mexico to build houses instead of going to Coachella, that's the kind of church that I want to start going to. And so she's going to be online for the first time this weekend. Her friend, who is also not a churchgoer, they both wanted to do it. And so Jordana and the team, get ready. You've got your first signups for Mexico 2021. So there you go.
I actually want to shout out Wendy Stoutenberg from our women's team, but also shout out all of you, Bayside family, for just the ways that we are being high tech and high touch in this season. Wendy had a call with a woman and found this post on a Facebook wall. And I think it's just representing the impact that we will never know that we're having through all these personal calls that we're making and the ways that we're caring for people. But she says this is amazing. "Put down my church all you want for being too big. They have sustained me through a cancer and unplanned pregnancy. And today, a woman named Wendy called me and asked me how she could pray for me. I will someday meet Wendy face to face, either on earth or in heaven. She has a heart for Jesus, and I want to be more like her. Most impactful 4-minute conversation I've had in years. Thank you." So big shout out to Wendy, but really all of you, the ways that God is using this season. We have no idea the ripple effects that we are having and changing the ways that people perceive the church during this time, especially through social media. It's fun to see these shout outs and representing Jesus, but representing the church really well. So way to go. Bayside Global, y'all are amazing.
Hey, I want to thank Craig and Lisa. I also want to say this. While that was playing, some of my family walked in. Check it out. This is my wife, Carol, everybody. And these are our daughters. This is Leslie and this is Christy. And who's this? Max. That's our dog, Max, who actually runs the family. All right, okay, back to the Bible. Here we go. Love you guys. The maturity mark in James. So to recap, here we go. James 1, stay faithful. James 2, compassion for people. James 3, mature Christians master their mouth. They're not verbal arsonists. They build up. They don't tear down. You just saw some examples of what that means to people. James chapter 4, here it is. They're mature people are peacemakers, not troublemakers. And this chapter is such a heavyweight chapter. I'm going to give you the outline and keep moving. But here's what he says. James is all about being a peacemaker, not a troublemaker. And let me ask you some questions. I wrote some down. Do you like to argue? Are you a contentious person? Do you get your feelings hurt every 30 seconds and you're offended by everybody and everywhere? Do you get defensive easily? Okay. Are you a peacemaker or are you a troublemaker? And there are way too many Christian troublemakers in every church. They show up at congregational meetings, okay? And James 4 was written to say that is not honoring to God or has nothing to do with authentic Christianity. And here's the outline. We'll be back to this. He says there are 3 things in all of us, me included, that need to get cured. We need to cure the causes of conflict. What causes conflict in your marriage, in your family, that kind of stuff. James actually says, here's what causes it, and then how do you cure a critical spirit? And how do you cure a cocky attitude? And so that's James chapter 4. I don't even have time to get into that chapter, but as you can tell from this outline, it is a heavyweight, life-changing chapter. And the entire thing ends up on a high note, kind of. James chapter 5, here it is. Authentic Christians stay hopeful when they're troubled. And I love, once again, in James chapter 5, he's honest. And he says, here's the outline of James chapter 5. Sounds like America and our world these days. They were having economic problems. Sound familiar? They were having physical health problems. Sound familiar? They were having national problems and called politics, and some of them were having personal failure problems. And James is going, you are getting hit by stuff. How do you stay up? How do you bounce back? How do you stay above it? How do you walk with God effectively when the whole world seems like it's going to hell in a handbasket? How do you walk with God in that kind of effective times? And he goes, there are 4 sources of strength, and here they are. Verse, Christ is coming. God is working. Prayer is effective. And when you need it, forgiveness is available. Say it with me. Christ is coming. God is working, prayer is effective, and forgiveness is available. And just tune in here, because this entire thing is leading to this moment. And this is going to be a little embarrassing to tell you, but I'm praying that this happens to all of you. If I can pastor you, I want to give you a phrase, and I promise you, if you're discouraged or you have been discouraged, there could be better days ahead if you will do this one thing. I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love going to church. I have been really bummed that the doors are closed. I'm an extrovert. I love people. So I've been discouraged about that. I've also been discouraged because we have 2 massive conferences. One of them right here where we are at Southwest Church down in Southern California, and the other conference is up at Bayside, and 6,000 plus people were registered for that. And there's nothing I love better than walking into that crowd of leaders and just hanging out and answering questions and just going out to dinners and stuff like that with these folks. And so when we had to cancel our Thrive conference, you have no idea how depressed I was. I was as discouraged as I get. I literally went, this is one of the highlights of my year. Some of you, graduation, you know what I'm talking about. And God taught me something brand new, because I had always gone, I'm discouraged. How do I get less discouraged? Or how do I replace discouragement with hope? And what God said to me is this: I don't want you to go from discouragement to hope. I want you to go from discouragement to dreaming. God said, I am not shut out. I have all the power I've always had. I work best when it looks like I'm not working. And God said, and what God said to me is this: the faster you go from discouragement to dreaming, the better you will be, the better your family will be, the better the world will be. And God said, let go of discouragement and start dreaming. I'd say the same thing to you, in whatever setting you're in. If you are willing to let go of discouragement and start dreaming, and I'll give you a very practical example of exactly how this works. Our Thrive conference, I was so discouraged, and then I went, wait a second, what if God wants to do something new, bigger, better? So, because we couldn't meet, we went, here's what we've done. We basically went, why don't we launch what we dream is the largest online, completely free leadership conference that is a compassion-first conference designed to raise money for causes. And we basically went, could we take a Christian leadership conference, and instead of having it in Sacramento, California and Palm Springs, California, could we have a Christian leadership conference that happens in America and Europe and around the world? And we just let go of discouragement and started dreaming. And then we went, and could we get people to speak for free? That was a dream. And then we went, and could we get people speak that would never in a million years speak at anything like this, because they just don't fly to conferences like this? And could we get anybody we wanted? And could we raise money for causes and make a difference in the world? And I'm going to give you 2 quick reports. One is this. Check this out. This is the list of people already. And this is a partial list. Everybody we've asked pretty much has said yes. From Simon Sinek to Lecrae, Rick Warren was an instant yes, Christine Kane, Henry Cloud, Bianca Olaf, Carrie Newhoff, Patrick Lencioni, Rich Wilkerson Jr., Bob Goff, hi Bob, Nikki Gumbel, Need to Breathe is in, the Harrison Barnes from the NBA is in, Nona Jones, Levi Lesko, myself, Luis Palau is still alive and doing great. He's speaking. Michael Jr. is doing comedy. Sadie Robertson is in. Chris Hodge is in. Elevation Worship's in. Thrive Worship's in. Albert Tate, Chris. I don't have time to read all this kind of stuff. Willie and Corey Robertson, yes. Glenn Barrett is anchoring Europe, okay? And then we've got Chris Brown, Mark Clark. All of these folks have said yes, and we're not even near done announcing some of the folks we're talking to about being in on this kind of conference. And here's what I want to say. Every single one of those speakers, artists, and leaders has said yes and is doing it absolutely free. Nothing like this that I'm aware of has ever happened at a Christian leadership conference. It has never happened. And it's going to be like this worldwide event now. There are already, by the way, the first thing we had to do was, The first thing we had to do was create a conference. Once the conference was created, then we had to go, okay, now how do we get the word out about that? We're just starting that now. And there are over 100,000 people already registered for a conference that maxed out at 6,000 people. And the other thing is this, we started dreaming. What if we did a Live Aid kind of event where it was a compassion first conference? We put it on, we pay for everything, and we raise money and we take offerings during it for kids that are hurting because of what's going on in the world right now. And so we have that acrostic. It's a compassion first, fight sex trafficking. We are going to raise money to rescue girls, okay? We are going to, that's the F. The I is invest in at-risk kids. And there are kids that don't get an education. And we started thinking, our goal is to get this conference, to get invitations to somewhere near 5 million people and to have 250,000 people join us on this conference. I know it's a crazy God-sized dream. That's our dream. And what we hope will happen out of that is this. And folks, you are amazing. 3,000 of you 2 weeks ago came on a call. We told you about a massive need in Sacramento of 300 kids that were locked out of getting education because they were in a disadvantaged part of town. They didn't have Chromebooks, they didn't have Wi-Fi, and we took an offering and we said, what happens is this. We took an offering online, and in 7 minutes, you all gave $250,000. Every one of those kids has laptops. Every one of those kids has their Wi-Fi paid for the next year, and they're all back in school. That started us thinking, if 3,000 people can raise $250,000 to solve a massive problem in 7 minutes, what could happen with 250,000 people and 2 days taking multiple offerings? Here's what I'm saying. When you stop letting discouragement strangle the life out of you and you let God give you some dreams, people, here's what I want to say. Bayside, let's go change the world. Let's go change the world. It needs people that care. It needs people that walk with God. And here's what I want you to take 2 steps right now. Number 1 is this. Register. If you haven't registered, register immediately. Register you. Get everybody in your family to register, whoever's with you. It's thriveconference.org. You can either go there or you can just text Thrive Summit to 56316, and we'll leave this up here. You can see it just right now. Great. If you're driving, do it later. But register, and then there's a second spot on there where some of you, and I'll bet about half of you are going, this is the kind of stuff I care about. This is what our world needs right now. Our world needs exposure to people, calling them out of discouragement, calling them to get their eyes back on Jesus, calling them to dream with hope, and calling them to make a difference in major ways. If you're going, I want to be an inviter on this, just join our Thrive team. Click that thing, and we will get you everything you need to invite your friends, business, relatives to this incredible 2-day conference. And I want to wrap this up by saying this. If I can pastor you all for a second. I actually believe you, your marriage, your health, your finances, your family, every single thing can be different if you will let discouragement go and walk out of that prison and let God give you some God-sized dreams because of the power of God. He's still working. The other thing I want to do is this. I'm going to flip it back to the host in just a second. I want to give you a couple fast other examples of a couple people that just were like, this has been devastating. Why don't we dream? Okay. For example, this has been a very tough time for high school seniors. Graduations have been canceled or look like they've been canceled. Tyler Swaney and our whole youth staff decided, what if we started dreaming about doing something? And that is going to happen this week on Saturday. And you can text this if you got a high school graduate. We are doing a drive-through graduation right at our Adventure campus. Okay. And in our studio, they have been taping principals and they've been taping valedictorian addresses so they would have a professional copy of that these families could have to treasure. That's been a really cool thing. The other thing going on is this. The largest children's event that I'm aware of on the West Coast is a thing called Breakaway. And last year, there were 13,000 kids and adults at Breakaway. And when the doors got closed, we started dreaming. Our attendance was 18,000. The doors closed. Now it's about 200,000. We started thinking, wait a second. What if we do Breakaway in a box? We have some on-site drive-thrus, things like that. But Breakaway now is no longer limited to Northern California. What if we do Breakaway globally and a box could go anywhere and people from all around the nation or the world, their kids could come to Breakaway. And so I love the fact that when people are discouraged and they start dreaming, instead of being disillusioned, you end up with a brand new future for kids, for teenagers, for the world. God bless you all. Let's flip to our hosts.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ray, for that incredible message on the book of James. And I just have to reiterate kind of the challenge that Brandon said earlier. Make sure that you're reading through the book of James with us. Go ahead and read chapter 1 if you haven't already, and then start ahead on James chapter 2 next week. This is one of the best books of the Bible you can read for this time that we're walking through right now.
Absolutely. When we go to Next Steps every week, you guys often hear us say, text something to 56316. I mean, there is so many different options to text to 56316. We say around here that 56316 is a one-stop shop. Yes. So I'm going to tell you some of the ones that we talk about most often. You'll see them here on your screen, but you can text NEXT to 56316. Maybe you put your faith in Jesus today. Maybe you prayed that prayer with Pastor Ray at the end of that message. Maybe it's your first time. Maybe you're just looking to get connected generically. You can text NEXT to 56316. You can also text GIVE. We talked about this before the service. You give through Bayside to the causes in our community. You can text LOCAL if you want to get involved in serving locally in your community. Maybe you've realized in this season you are starving for community. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm, as a capital E extrovert, like I'm talking to inanimate objects in my home at this point.
It's okay, I'm there too.
So if you want to be in a small group, you can text group to 56316. If you want to host one, host. If you want the update from our call a couple weeks ago, text update. And as always, know that we want to be praying with you and for you. You can always text prayer to 56316.
Essentially what I just heard Brandon say is that's a lot of words, so try texting any word to 56316.
You can text Brandon and Mackenzie.
We got you covered.
To 56316.
Right, it'll be great, but that's all you have to know is that is our number for Bayside Church to support you wherever you might be. So we have 3 last things for you. First, don't forget, is our Thrive Summit coming up on June 15th and 16th. We have a world-class lineup. It is completely free and it comes right to you in your home. So remember to text Thrive Summit to 56316 to register.
Absolutely, and do it today.
Right now.
Some of you have heard us talking the last couple weeks about Breakaway. That's our kids camp we do around here at Bayside. We're doing it this summer. It's going to look a little different. It's going to be online. It's going to put your kids' Xbox or PlayStation to shame. And there's going to be a box that has the swag and the arts and crafts and all of that in it. There's going to be a YouTube. There's going to be a live for Breakaway for your dancers and your theme songs and all the stuff that we love about Breakaway. We want you to register for that also today. You can go to breakawaykidscamps.com, use the promo code Bayside2020 and get your kid registered and ready for Breakaway this summer in July. And there's 2 different options in July as well. So make sure, pick the one that works for you guys as a family, but make sure to register for that today.
Those Breakaway dance moves are coming soon to a computer near you.
By
it's
us.
It's gonna be incredible.
Are we gonna dance? dance for Breakaway?
I will always dance. It was actually in my head while you were talking.
Love it.
And the last one we have to update you on is just a reminder, if you're an 8th grader and a 12th grader, or you know one, make sure you get them signed up for our graduate celebration that is happening on May 30th on our Adventure campus. Remember, we see you, we love you, and we cannot wait to celebrate you. Put on that cap and gown, get in your car, get ready to be shouted out, celebrated, and get a huge gift. So remember to text 2020 grad to 56316 to pre-register.
Absolutely. Now, we've been seeing in the comments, last but not least, but we have been seeing in the comments, people are asking, why are we standing outside?
Besides it being fun.
Besides it being fun, friends, you get it. We've been inside for 11 straight weeks. Me and Mackenzie are thinking, absolutely, why would we not stand outside? This is what we're here to do. We're just trying to have fun today. Friend, hear me say this. We are honored that you spent time with us, and we are longing for the day that we're back together in person. But until that time comes, we'll continue to enjoy this medium right here at Bayside Online. We will see you guys again next week. God bless you.